Do you get to a place when you feel like you're working hard and then you're working harder and then you're still getting the same results? Or maybe you're facing a little bit of burnout, or maybe your intuition or inner knowing is telling you there's a better way to do what you're doing. And that's because my YouTube fam, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Erica Hepperly. I am your feminine lifestyle elevation and intuitive business coach. And today, so magical, I want to talk about unleashing the power of the divine feminine. We have the divinity of the feminine energy. And before we get into the power and how to unlock and unleash your divine feminine energy in order to elevate not only in your own being, but also create more balance, more synergy in your relationships, to make more impact, more money with less work, I want to define what the masculine and feminine energy means. Why is it so important? Who has it? What is it? So a lot of times when we think masculine versus feminine energy, we think man versus woman, right? But actually in our beings, both man and woman, or however you define yourself, however you identify, we all, as a collective, as humans, as souls in this human experience, have both the masculine and the feminine energy. And what it really means is just a way of being, a way of executing through two separate energies. And we call these polarities. The law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. And when everything has an opposite, you can't just focus on one. You get to focus on both. And so a lot of times in this patriarchal society where we're really about the success, about the hustle, about the doing more, being more, proving ourselves, right? We don't often get reflected or shown or taught the power of the feminine energy. And so when I talk about the masculine and feminine, I'm going to use my right hand for the masculine, my left hand for the feminine. And that's just in which the energy is illustrated. And so with this beautiful power of both, we get to understand where we're wounded and where we're living in the divine energy. And so when we talk about the divine masculine, we're talking about a really healthy masculine. How is the masculine energy executed? That is really focused on holding space, on structure, on strategy, on really being a foundation. Everything that's logic, everything that is about the work hard, the do more, right? It's not about proving though. That comes from a wounded masculine place. It's about being in the execution. It's about doing, not proving. And in the masculine energy is how you get shit done, right? Because we also have the feminine, which is about the flow. It's about the sensual. It's about the sexual. It's the creative. It is really about the nurturing, the intuition, right? The wisdom. And so when you can see how the masculine and feminine get to play out, it is the doing, the masculine, versus the being, the feminine. We can't consistently execute because we will burn out. And for those of you that know my story, this will just be a little review. For those of you that don't, here's a little recap. I came from a mother who was an accountant, and she would work 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks. She'd save her money, very logical. And she always told us that we were strong, independent women and we didn't need any men. And so through that, I continued to have that play out when I went into the bodybuilding world. And so I was working this 9-to-5 corporate job, making my way up the corporate ladder, and bodybuilding. So I'd leave my house at about 4:30 in the morning to go work out. I'd come back around 6, shower, get ready, leave by 7. I would commute from 7 to 8:30. From 8:30 to 5:30, I would work, and then I would go from 5:30 to get to the gym again by like 6:45. And I wouldn't get home until 9 p.m., 10 p.m. at night, and I'd do it all over again. So it was really about the hustle. I was in that hustle mentality. Every hour of the day was spent learning, doing, executing, proving. And so you can see here, there was a lot of actually wounded masculine because I wasn't having this like strategy and structure to execute and then coming into the feminine and being able to be in a place of flow and receiving. I was doing. And eventually, the law of diminishing returns states that the harder you work, you're going to get to a point where your returns are going to start to be less. So you're going to have to work harder to get the same results that you were doing when you were working, say, at this point. And so the reason why the power of the feminine comes into play is because it's more about the creative, the being. As souls, we have a birthright to be. We are abundant in our being. We are loved in our being. It's this whole patriarchal structure that has caused us to have to prove ourselves in order to prove our worth. But that is a very wounded place to be when it comes to the masculine energy. And when you can start to see that you get to also be in the place of creativity, of flow, of nature, of nurture, of sexuality, sensuality, and just flowing through life, you get to have this balance between the two. And of course, there's going to be seasons where you have to do more, and then there's going to be seasons where you get to just be more. And it's kind of like the illustration of the work week. You get to do through the work week, and the weekend, you get to be in the feminine energy, the flow, the fun, the creative. What I really want to help you understand is that success isn't only created in the masculine. Relationships aren't only grown in the masculine. Through the doing, through the control, they're done through the trust, through the flow, through the play, through the pleasure, right? And so if you think about relationships first, in a relationship, you have the masculine, which is the energy of the space holder, the doer. He holds a strength, right? If you have a partner who's also trying to control, trying to have the structure and the strategy, you guys are gonna clash, right? It's like the anatomy of men. Two men sword fighting, that doesn't get along very well. And that's why if you look at the anatomy of a woman, she opens to be penetrated or to receive. And so that takes me into how to receive money and how to receive success. Success is really about maybe in your business, how you define it. But it's really about if you want to receive abundance, you get to open to receive it. So it's through the execution, the doing, that you get to open to receive in the being. And how this plays out is really letting go of the control. And so, for example, if you're an online coach and you want to call in new leads or new clients, part of the masculine energy would to be go out and message and to go generate your own leads through maybe organic messaging, maybe through ads, right? And then the feminine energy would come to stepping away from your computer, going out into nature, connecting to the flow, inserting pleasure breaks in your day in order to not put your full focus on, oh my God, I need these clients. I want to grow my business. I need. It shows in that wounded masculine structure of desperation. And so no one wants to be around someone that's desperate, right? That's in your relationship. That's in, business. It's like a used car salesman who follows you around the lot, right? That feels like desperate, sticky, yucky energy. So we can balance between the masculine and the feminine. You could see that we can actually go from a place of doing to being to doing, and it creates this beautiful undulating dance between the both. And so some ways to start to understand is One, understand, where are you living in the wounded masculine? Are you holding on to control or unnecessary structure in your life? Two, being, where have you created rules, unnecessary rules that don't serve the season you're in? Those are really massive things to understand. Where are you operating in the wounded masculine? And then when you want to go into the divine feminine to start to balance these things out, right? You can see that structure is beautiful, execution is beautiful, but it doesn't determine your worth, and it doesn't determine the amount of success or abundance that you receive. And so some ways to really start to hone into your feminine energy, I'm going to give you these examples because they'll really help you elevate your life and start to understand that life doesn't have to be so difficult. It gets to be pretty easy when you can start to understand the dance between the both of these. So, one is start to create safety in your body. When you create safety in your body, it gives you the permission to slow down, to relax, to listen, and to create home in your body, right? Number two is starting to understand that you are the creator. You are the creative energy. And so anything that you want to do, create a business, create an idea, create a relationship, create a connection to yourself, right? Comes from the power of the womb space. As the feminine energy, it lives in the womb space, the sacral chakra. And so connecting to the womb space is going to show up through maybe a womb massage, through maybe cycle syncing. So syncing your cycle and understanding the power of each phase of your cycle. Then you get to start to understand how to connect to your yoni. Your yoni is your sacred space, is your vulva. Have you done any mirror gazing, yoni mirror gazing? Have you done any yoni mapping, understanding the external pleasure points, pain points, numb points, and internal yoni mapping to understand where there's pain, where there's pleasure, and where there's numbness? Where there's pain and numbness, there's probably a stored emotion or emotions, stored experiences, stored pain, traumas, or wounds living in there. Old sexual partners can be stored in your womb space as well. So really working through some yoni mapping. And then once you've started to connect to those three, you can go into more releasing through anything that's stuck in your being. So any old pains, old traumas, old wounds, old emotions, old partners, and release those. So then you can start to move into a beautiful space where you get to feel safe in the being, just being yourself, going out in nature and connecting with Mama Gaia, Mother Nature. She is the divine feminine. Taking time to connect to your creativity because the feminine is creative. It's the creator. We create life, aka having babies, so we get to have creative essence. And then things like just play, anything that has to do with play, what feels fun, what feels alive, what feels present. And flow. So how can you flow in your body? Maybe that's body oiling. Maybe that's sensual nonlinear movement. Maybe that's things that really allow you to just be, right? Allow you to be in the present moment. And then things like self-pleasure, right? Self-pleasure can look many different ways for many different people. But really, I want to start speaking more about the taboo of self-pleasure with women, about masturbation, right? Because we can create so much through our orgasm, and that's really what comes into understanding the divine feminine. All of these things together, it's about the creativity, it's about the flow, it's about the nurturing, understanding your emotions, moving through that darkness, really being able to be in the primal energy of the divine feminine. We call an archetype of the divine feminine Kali, an Hindu archetype for the divine feminine. That's really about the darkness. It's really about going into the shadows, being able to look at what is no longer serving us, in order to understand what gets to be, what gets to stay. And it's through that we get to sink deeper into our expression, through using our voice to speak to what we want, through asking for things, right? And not allowing the projections of the wounded masculine to cause us to feel less than or have low self-worth. And it's nothing to say that the man versus woman is right versus wrong or that type of thing. It's really to just understand that these energies live within both of us. And the wounded masculine could come from your own self projecting low self-worth onto your feminine, right? When you're not doing anything, you're shaming yourself, you're feeling guilty for not working, right? But in actuality, the dance between the both helps you understand that there's seasons. Sometimes we gotta do, and then we get to be in a season of being, of relaxing, of taking the foot off the gas and allowing ourselves to experience life, because life doesn't have to be difficult. It gets to be easy when you understand how to come into alignment. What I say by that is aligning your chakras, your energy centers from the root to the crown, and having a balance between the masculine and the feminine energy. So you don't feel off kilter, out of balance. You get to feel very aligned, very at ease. And this is just a few of the things that help you to really find peace, harmony, understanding, communication in your relationships. So that could be your intimate relationships, your platonic, your familial. It can also be in your business on how you call in clients. It's not just about the strategy. If you have a business coach who's just teaching you strategy, you're missing half the equation, which is how to be in the energy of receiving. Because you can go execute, but if you don't know how to receive, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And also, it teaches you how to be in harmony with yourself, how to not shame yourself for times of rest, how to understand how to create the things that your soul is here to share, right? And so through this, we get to work with both. First, we have to heal the wounded masculine. There might even be a wounded feminine, which we didn't even go into today. We'll go into in another video. And that allows us to sink deeper into the divinity of both the masculine and feminine, having the dance between the two. This aspect can help all aspects of your life because it's that you find inner peace. And I'll see you next week.